Yeah, throw up. I lost it. But that's a common, misconception or a nickname that I got. So
Run that sign. I trust him enough. Why?
I hope at this point. Are you kidding me? You'd trust me with your kids if you had to.
My train.
Is that how that works?
Yeah.
You still making some profit sharing off of my 20 deals? You should, right?
So
That's how it works.
okay.
What happens when Matt leaves? Then they like ex-nay that. So shouldn't it come just like now I'm like,
Yeah, grandpa.
there's no one in between us though?
I don't know how that works. Because KW eats all of that money.
Really?
Hopefully it's rolled.
Should just come up to the next person. We need to figure that out.
It's more money, Cody.
I should. I cap every year. So I pay my full portion to that bucket.
And I didn't swamp you yet.
I know, this is Saturday night, and then you guys wouldn't respond till Monday.
I saw me got baptized.
Yeah, How was that?
So crazy weekend.
that is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I sent that, it's like, me Monday.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we'll chat all this fun.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Introductions. Tell me who you are. You have your license, how long you've had it.
I'm Matt. I don't have my license, so I've taken the test. I've applied. I'm in that inner position between
Cool.
processing and when I'm going to get it.
Okay.
So it's kind of guess right now I'm line. I said 30 days. It's about my third week. So
Okay, so it should be any day now, hopefully, here in the next week or so.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Where did you come from? What have you been doing professionally?
Well, I've worked in warehouses primarily. I went to school at UVU.
Okay.
Worked in warehouses. Then moved out to Oregon. Back. I was going to try to do real estate out there. Too stressful. Moved back home and position myself so I can actually pursue the success. So,
Cool.
I'm here ready to go.
Good. Why, can I ask you a question? Why real estate? What about it?
There's a couple specific aspects about it. One of them being I like talking to people. I always find myself at anytime I work in any warehouses, I know everybody. I talk to everyone to the point where I get concerned I'm going to get in trouble with too many people. So
Yeah.
I always kind of had that, and also I like to pick mushrooms. So really interested in land and land usage, and so raw land down into like houses kind of stuff. And
Cool.
It just really fascinates me. So the combination of those and the ability to take up days when I want. So
Yeah.
it's hard to beat.
So talk to as many people, never get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Flexibility.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Sarah, I worked in back of house restaurants for about 14 years.
Cool.
I am currently unlicensed. I have a retake exam on Wednesday and I missed the federal by 12 points.
So just
So
barely.
I scored a 58 out of 70.
Yeah.
So, I enjoy the idea of having a flexible schedule because I am a primarily single parent in our family.
Okay.
And then, one of the reasons why I picked real estate was I realized that I would never hit my goal where I want to be in life, working my restaurant income.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. How many kids do you have?
Just two.
Just two? Cool. How old are they?
2 girls and my oldest is gonna be 11 in August and my youngest just turned 6.
Fun. Do you have any kids?
I do.
Okay, that's all right.
If I can make this work, then I can talk to them.
Yeah. They get expensive. I'll introduce myself. So Cody Thorup, Director of Sales for the Red Sign team. We've been around 18 years. I've been with the company for 5, crazy enough. Last month was 5. I've been with Red Sign. I spent 10 years in construction. I ran a construction company. It was a family business, so I did everything. So I've from selling jobs to doing the work to collecting the money to bidding, stuff all over the West, commercial projects, residential stuff. all kinds of things. So we did that for a decade. Along the way, I got my real estate license early on when I was 23, 22. So I've had it for 11 years or 10. It was 23. I'm 33. So it was when I was 23. So I've had it for 10 years. I got it initially so I could start just flipping houses. So I could use it. So I wasn't paying an agent, or I wasn't, when I bought it, I could keep the commission kind of stuff. I could throw that into the pot. And so I would flip a couple houses every year when I was in construction. I partnered with someone out in Maryland. I had a wholesaling and flipping business for about 4 years out in Maryland. So that was fun. When the market started to get tighter here on margins for flips, I pivoted back east, met a guy, and we partnered up, and then we had a business there for a couple of years that I did that, and so it was awesome. Huh?
Why Maryland?
Just that was where the guy, that was where the guy was. So it wasn't anything particular. It was just, I think, really Midwest and East Coast of the U.S. There is some phenomenal opportunities for flipping and wholesaling still, depending on the market and price points. Simply, that's just things are older. So when we look here, like if you've got a house that's 1950 to not, you're like, man, that's an old house. Where you go back east and it's like, there's most things are that old. So that's a fairly new house, and there's a lot of stuff that's 17 or 1800s. Like it's just people have been there a lot longer. Um, for buildings and different things. So there's just and the weather conditions being more humid, and so those things factor into just people not taking care of stuff. I think Utah also culturally, here people take pretty well care of things. You go to a lot of other cities and there's a lot of neighborhoods that are run down and there's just rough parts. Utah just doesn't really have that. We've got different pockets and areas where like, that neighborhood's kind of rough, but if you go to other big cities, like it's in no comparison. And so that was fun. It was a different, we would wholesale stuff, which is, you get a seller to agree to one price, you turn around and we've got a great buyers list. And so we turn around and market it to sell the contract to our group of investors. And you make the difference on that. So you don't actually close on the house, you don't buy it, you really just deal finding, moving the deal to somebody else and making the difference there. So we would cherry pick the ones we wanted to flip, and then I would wholesale the rest. So we did that for a handful of years, which was fun. And I was in construction for part of that. And then I got out in 2020, finally had enough of the family business and wanted to get into real estate full time. So I got on Red Sign and started selling, and then there was eventually an opportunity to take this position. So I took it, exited the Maryland company, and have just focused on Red Sign the last few years. So it's been good. I've got 5 kids, so I know how expensive they are. We were hoping for 4, and we got a set of twins here that are 6 months old. So it was a unexpected surprise for us a little bit ago, but they've been fun. We're just sleep is a hot commodity, and I would pay for it if I could, but it is not something that we get a ton of right now. So I was telling one of the other office staff that we were up like 8 times last night. So just used to rolling on a couple hours of sleep here. So we're just surviving. Usually when I teach, I handle these a little bit different. The focus of today is lead follow-up, which we'll get into. I'll cover how we as a large team hold our agents accountable, what we do in our databases, how we tag people, and kind of the whole process to lead follow-up. But I do, obviously, this is a smaller group too. So I would like to ask you guys, both of you are still waiting for your license. You're going to pass the test here. Like, is there anything else real estate wise that you want to cover? I've got a wide background. We sell 250 homes roughly a year. I've got construction, wholesaling, flipping. Like I've been involved. You name it, I've done it in real estate. Is there? Yeah, I was like, what's at the top of your list if we could cover anything else? We got 45 minutes. I want to make sure you guys get the most out of this.
After we close our first 4 deals with parent, we have a couple places to either go solo and try to run our own thing, or how soon can we sign on with a team after we finish those first.
Cool. So PC, what's after PC? So we can cover that. Which is a great question. Okay. What else? I'm just going to list them out, and then I'll go through and I'll make sure we cover this, and then the rest of the time we'll just start tackling these questions or these topics that you guys have.
I don't know. I don't even know who I would really even ask about this, but I'm real interested in raw land, farms, ranches, vineyards, things of that nature. 'But I don't really understand. I guess how that works.
Okay,
Looking
how
at
you
my
build.
things, I'm seeing stuff. It seems sparse. It seems, and I know they move slow. That's
Yep.
where that, but like
I will second.
how back, how that sort of sphere work is. I understand there's like development side of that, but
I'm gonna put
that's on the development.
niche prospecting. Because this is going to apply in a multiple facets. I'll give you another one. I talk to agents that are like, I want to be a commercial agent. Phenomenal, fantastic. It takes years to build a database. It's not the thing that you get in real estate to do. You have to go sell your existing stuff because that's going to pay the bills as you get into it. But there's things that you can start doing to work yourself to that. Where eventually, like, could I look up in 5 or 10 years and like that the only thing that I'm selling anymore and the only business or clients that I'm working with are just raw land, farms, developments, ranches, for sure. Like you could build a business. That's a cool thing about real estate. It's just endless. You can do so many things with it, which is so fun. Okay, what else? Anything else that's on the top of your mind where you're just like, man, can you solve this for me? Can you answer this? Can we talk about this topic?
Honestly, this even may be it, but everyone keeps telling me, everyone said, right? 20% of your efforts yield whatever, we got a prospect, and everything else will fall in place. Well, I'm like, what the hell is everything else is gonna fall in place? Like it's unknown, that's supposedly gonna be taken care of.
Yeah.
Gives me a great deal of anxiety because what is that?
Yep.
But I assume this is probably.
Which is, yeah, I would, I'm going to put a little graph up here. I have this conversation quite often with new agents where it's like, so knowing everything. And on this side, I'm going to put prospecting.
Semi-related to that because I am the type of person where if you show me how to do something, I can do it. But are there gonna be some team leads that are gonna be like, here's your prospecting neighborhood for the day, go prospect, or are there gonna be teams where we'll take you prospecting like 1 or 2 days and then once I know how to do it, then you go on your own.
Yeah.
There's I know that from my experience working in restaurants, I have seen every type of lead you can think of,
Yep. I'm going to put structure and training. Okay. Anything else? Okay. We'll stop it there.
Yeah.
If you guys come up with anything after, we can chat through it. Okay. I'm gonna break lead follow up into, we're gonna talk first like database. Okay, so we're gonna talk high level. We're gonna talk your database. And then we'll get into buyers and sellers because there's different strategies for buyers and different strategies for sellers. Okay. So with your database, as you guys get in, and when I reference like database, you guys know what that is. Essentially, that's like, yeah, it's who you know, friends, family, coworkers, just everybody that you've come in contact with at your database. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what we do as a company. There's a million ways to skin the cat. Doesn't mean you have to follow what we do, but I'm going to tell you what we do as a company. Red Sign. Yep. So me personally, Red Sign team, with our like 16 agents, I'll tell you kind of how we break it up. Okay. So in your database, you should have a couple ways to filter through people. Okay. Your SOIA, these are going to be your top people. Okay. There is a phrase or saying in Keller Williams where your goal is to try to get to 201 plus. Once you have 200 people, like that's a sweet number for a lot of reasons. In a more normal market, it's commonly talked about like in the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate book. They've got a couple different ratios, which people are staying in their home longer in the world we live in. And so those things have changed over time since that book was written. But in a perfect world, you would have a touch program, okay, a 36 touch program. You guys have probably touched base or somebody's talked to you guys about that. That is essentially your marketing plan to these people. Okay. If you've got a pretty good marketing plan, your goal is to try to get to 10%. Okay. Very lofty goal. We as a company are about 3 to 5% on average with our agents right now. We've got a pretty dialed in 36 touch program. We send 2 emails a month. We do quarterly events. Okay. So you've got 24 emails that go out. You've got 4 events, which gets you to 28. We've got 4 calls that happen or 4 outreaches to get you to 32. And then there's 4 other times throughout the year where we're sending different mailers or other things that get us to at least 36. But we're also like, we'll reach out multiple times before our events. There's multiple, touches that happen before the events too that get us way over 36. So we run a pretty dialed in touch program to stay top of mind with our people. And we're getting about 3 to 5% average. I have some agents that will get more. They're just doing more in-person high level. So I'll give you an example. I've got an agent, Jake Bowers. He plays pickleball and does dinners with people, gets together for food. He doesn't make phone calls. It's wild, I know, but he's been doing this for years. It's taken him a couple of years to get ramped up, but he now will close on average like 13 to 15 million a year in real estate and doesn't do any cold calling, doesn't reach it. He's reaching out to get people together. Okay. His return on his database is like 14%. So he has a very high level of interaction because he's getting a lot of referrals. He's very well connected. He's got great relationships with people. Okay. Doesn't mean his is like the only way to do it. Doesn't mean calling people and having a lesser is a bad thing either. Okay. The reason why you want to focus on this is you want 200 minimum. And in this market, I have pushed our agents the last 3 years to grow that. Because if we're only getting, if you just do the math, let's say you've got above average, let's say you're at 5%. So if you take 200 and I'm only getting 5% return on my database right now, that means I'm only getting 10 transactions. Okay, if I only have 200 people that I'm staying in contact with and sending emails and marketing to and doing events and doing all of these things, I have an average potential to get 10 deals out of that if I was working just that. It's why you've got to look at open houses and farming and doing a couple other prospecting activities.
Like, so we were talking about leads, right?
Yep.
200 leads, or this like 200 in your database, like how many leads?
Correct. Yeah, I'm gonna break this down. So database SOIA to me, this is gonna be everybody that you know. So it's just all of your these are A's, so these are your top people. Okay. When an agent says how do I know if they're an A or how do I know if they're a B? The way that we decide that as a company is, are you committed to calling them quarterly? Are you going to reach out to them quarterly? Do you have a good enough relationship with them that you could text them and say, hey, thinking of you, how's life? How was your vacation that you took with your family? Like, do you have that good enough relationship? Okay. So we have agents that we hold accountable around contacting their SOIA quarterly. You have to, as part of being on our team, you have to reach out to these people at a minimum 75% on a running 90-day basis. These are going to be people I don't expect them to call, but because we run events, I'll have agents once or twice a year kind of just mass outreach to those people. And so I would tell you guys, like, I would use, the office does a couple events. The office will do Keller Splash in the summer and then a pumpkin patch event at Jakers in the fall. It does cost a little bit of money to do it, but if you can, those are great opportunities to reach out to people and connect with them. And there's other ways to reach out and connect with people too. Okay. So database is important. At 200 minimum, I would just try to get as many people. And this is everybody that you come in contact with. So if I run an open house and I meet somebody that doesn't have an agent, okay, my goal is to get them into my SOIA for me to start getting them emails, reaching out to them. I'm going to call them quarterly. I'm building a relationship with them. Okay. In real estate, your best partners are going to be the people that you have the best relationship with. Okay. So that's really the goal. That's why we're in the business. It's not just the effort or the outreach, it's what are you doing to build a relationship with them. So I tell our agents, like, if you're reaching out to somebody and you have nothing of value to give and you're just calling to bug them about selling or buying, you're doing it wrong. Like, you should be connected with them enough to know, like, what's going on in their life. What did you talk about last time? Are you taking good notes? Can I follow up and say, hey, last time we talked, you said you guys were going and doing this, or you were excited about this happening in your life. Like, how was that? How was your daughter's dance recital? Like, whatever the thing is, how are you building that relationship with people? We've all had those times where somebody calls, you haven't heard from them in years, and you're just waiting for the punchline. Like, why are you calling me? Like, give me the sales pitch. So what are you doing to provide value to the people as you reach out? So these are kind of how you start tagging people into different buckets. Okay, you should have A's, you should have B's. Okay, eventually through this process, the goal is to start stirring up potential deals. Okay, so now we get into leads. So we've got database, then we're going to get into leads. And how do those work? Okay, so then I like to refer to things as different buckets. Okay, we've got SOIA bucket, we've got our B's. Okay, and then with leads, you've got a couple different statuses that will help you differentiate what bucket they should be in. And you guys can do this in command. So I'm going to put this as a tag, and I'm pretty sure we're in a different CRM, but this is going to be status to us. I'd have to look and see in command. Yeah, I'll answer that. So if command was where it is today, a couple of years ago, we probably would be in command. We're in Brevity. Brevity was built by a big team. Ben Kinney owns a team that's across the nation. He's got a bunch of different markets. So he built a CRM that was built for large teams. Command is phenomenal for solo, maybe a couple people. I still think that it's done a really good job in the last couple of years advancing and getting to a better place. So that's why we're in a different CRM. It's just built for kind of the size and company we are. Okay. The reason why so we've got our database tagged. I know who my top people are. I know who my other Bs are. Okay. And then I've got leads. The reason why you want leads in different statuses is because, so we run this model, your HOTs are going to be essentially now 90 days. And the way I look at that is if they are willing, able, ready buyers, sometimes you have where it's like, man, they just need a unique house or a unique parcel. And like, maybe it's going to take more than 3 months to find that. It's like, well, you don't know that the perfect parcel couldn't pop on the market in the next 30 days. If it did, would they purchase? If the answer to that is yes, they're a HOT. Okay. If there's nothing keeping them from buying or selling in the next 3 months, if whatever the thing was happened, they would move forward with the transaction. That means they're a HOT. Okay. That's the status. Nurture is going to be 3 to 12 months. Okay. That's that hand raiser where it's like, yeah, we're kicking around the idea. We're thinking maybe next summer. We're thinking about maybe buying, or hey, later this year, once so-and-so graduates, we're going to think about maybe putting our house up for sale and downsizing. So they're going to be a little bit farther out, but I don't want to lose them in my overall database. Okay. This is where you're starting to separate things out so you're a little bit more organized so you can stay on top of things. Okay. So nurture is going to be 3 to 12 months. Okay. And then watch status for us is everybody else. So all my people that are in my database are going to be in watch status. Okay. As a company. And then when they are a hand raiser or decide that they're going to do a transaction, I'm going to move them into either hot or nurture. Okay. This way, out of my 200 or 300 or 400 people, I know who my top people are, and this is my next paycheck. So commonly, as I set my week up, I should have time set aside that I'm focused on my hots and nurtures for follow-up, and what am I doing to move the lead forward this week? Okay. Do I need to search on the MLS? Do I need to call some off-market properties? Do I need to make sure I get this window cleaner set up for the listing, or so-and-so needs to get stuff boxed up and moved out? And so what am I doing to get them a couple, resources to make sure we can move their listing closer to going live on the market? There's always little things in these two areas that what am I doing to just follow up, check in with them, and move it forward. Okay. And then everybody else is just a watch. Okay. As we move people in, so like if I have a new agent or we're getting new into the organization, you have what they call like status is going to be like new lead. Okay. And then you also, and again, you'll have to, I'm assuming that command has got something very similar. I need to get in and play around with it because it's been a little while. So when I move somebody new into my database, I'm going to leave them in this status. Okay. The reason for that is if I haven't had contact with them or made contact or outreach to them, then I don't want to move them into one of these other things because they're going to get lost. Okay. So there's a system to it. So I'll give you an example. I go run an open house. I meet somebody. I get their information. I put it into my CRM. Okay. I put it into command, but I haven't yet called them. I did the open house on Saturday. That weekend, I put them into my CRM. They're technically a new lead, but I haven't reached out to them. But my plan is to reach out on Monday. Okay. On Monday, if I call them, send them a text and they don't answer, I'm going to move them to unqualified. Okay. Which means they're a new lead, but I've reached out, but I've yet to qualify them and follow up. Are they interested in the house? Do they want me to work with them? All the things. Okay. So that can also be a bucket of like, I'm doing all of these other things for lead generation, whether it's farming, open houses, door knocking, cold calling, networking, whatever it is, and you're going to meet people that you reach out to and they're not going to answer. That's a bucket that eventually I'm not going to call them every single day for the next month to like pick up your phone. But if I reach out a handful of times, they don't answer, I'll leave them here. And it doesn't mean that in a month or 2 months or 3 months, depending on our conversation, maybe they were, hey, we're looking for a home in Vineyard and there's this really great home that was 3 doors down from the open house pops up on the market. And I'm like, oh yeah, there was that. As I look at this every so often, weekly, bi-weekly, like, oh yeah, there's that lead that never got back to me. I could send them the link, text it over and say, hey, this home just hit the market. It's just down the street from the one that we met at. I was thinking of you. How are you? Are you guys still interested in buying? That's a great follow-up for somebody that's maybe in that unqualified. Once they answer in either of these buckets, the goal is, where do they fit in? Are they, hey, we actually just were we were just out and about and we came through the open house. We're really not interested in buying. My question usually to that person is, hey, no problem. I also love looking at houses. Can I ask you a question? If you if you were looking to buy, sell, or just had real estate questions, do you have somebody that you could trust that you would reach out to? Okay, I want to know if their aunt, uncle, brother, best friend is a real estate agent. If they're like, yeah, honestly, my sister's husband's an agent. They helped us buy our house. We'd probably just use him. I'm probably not going to keep that person in my database. I'm not going to go spend time creating marketing content and following up with them. But if they're like, honestly, no, not really. Like we've never bought a house before and we don't have anybody. It's like, great. Well, I'd love to stay in touch with you, keep you up to date on the market and the things that are happening in the real estate world. Is that okay? Most people are like, yeah, that's awesome. Great. Okay. So I would keep them in the watch bucket. Okay. If they're like, actually, our lease is up here in 6 months and we need to start the process and we need to be in before our lease is up, it's like, all right, then they're probably a nurture. Okay. And then if they're like, honestly, we need a place now, like a baby's coming here in the next 2 months, like we need a house, I need to be situated before my wife has this baby. It's like, well, then they're in the hot bucket. So I've reached out, I've moved them into the right status or bucket. Okay. And then if I'm going to build my week out, I'm going to have time set aside. And Cameron has probably talked to you guys about, or if not, you guys will find out. So there's a system called DTD2. You guys ever heard that? Okay. Okay, perfect. So you take the last name, take 2 letters, you break it up, and then you can call through it every quarter. Okay. So if I was going to run my week on lead follow-up, I'm going to spend some time focusing on my DTD2 because that's going to help me call my people every quarter. Okay, so I'll focus some time there. Usually that's a Monday for me. I'm going to have some follow-up and some time set aside for my hots, my nurtures, and then any of these other new or unqualified leads. Okay, I'm going to have that in my calendar. Like I need to spend time in these different areas following up with those people. And again, like when I am on the phone calling people, I've got my database pulled up, my CRM. So I've got command pulled up. I'm looking at my people and I'm taking notes. So if I got somebody on the phone, I'm going to call them from my cell phone, but then I'm going to have their pulled up and I'm going to be putting some notes in there because next time when I call, I want something that I can start building rapport with them about. Okay, there's nothing worse than it's like you talked about something, you never come back to it, and people just feel like you're not listening. Okay, when you talk to somebody consistently, like a friend, if you think about one of your really good friends that you talk to, you don't really ever have a conversation where they're not following up with something that you talked about before. It's like, hey, how did that thing go? We talked about, you going and doing that, or you going, how was this trip? Or there's always like, they're following up with something that's going on in your life. Like that's why they're a friend. That's why you have such a good relationship with them, because they're checking in with who you are and what's going on in your life. And that's why you guys have that close relationship. And so how do you approach your business that way, where you have that level of intention and connection with people? And as you do that, people people can sense when you're genuine. We've all been there when you're just like, person's not genuine. Like they've got this alternative motive of why they're talking to me. They're not really in.
Like Jocko really says, it's intent has a smell.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Intent has a smell. And so if your intent is just to follow up with people, run a business, it's all business, no relationship, like people sense that, people smell it. Like, so how do you just love people and be genuine and follow up and know that like the business will come? You've got to ask the right questions. You got to, hey, are you guys, as you guys get into and you get your license out the gates, it's great to say, hey, I've got my license. I'm excited to be in real estate. I'm partnered with one of the best brokerages in the entire state and companies. Where are you guys at? Do you love where you live? Do you guys have any goals to make a move this year? You know, what are your goals as far as housing and real estate? You guys have anything that that I should make sure we take note of and we should be checking in with about this year? It's like, nope, we're excited about where we're at. We just bought a house a couple of years ago, whatever it is. It's like phenomenal. I'd love to stay in touch with you. We do events every so often. I'd love to keep you in mind for those. Is it okay if I check in with you every couple months? I'd love also to be better about just staying more connected with people. You know, the other good one's like, hey, as I get into real estate, I've got this goal to help a family a month. I would love for you to help me with that. Okay, so if you talk to anybody, anyone that's looking to buy, sell, or has some questions, you know, will you put us in a group message, send me a referral? I would love for you to help me with this goal of, you know, helping 12 families this year. Okay, it's another good one, especially at the beginning of the year, to layer like, hey, I've got this goal. I'd love for you to help me. You know, if we were good friends and I called you and I'm like, hey, I got this health goal. I need to get to the gym like 3 days a week. Can you like just stay on top of me? We're best friends. Like, I know you go to the gym pretty consistently. Like, will you help? Like, when are you going to the gym? Like, maybe we go together sometimes. Like, if I had a good friendship, like we'd work together, we'd follow up, we'd hold like, dude, did you go to the gym this week? Like, how did you do? Like, we'd be checking in with each other. So I think people naturally want to help other people. They just don't know how sometimes. And in real estate, when you get in, you think that people are just like, well, sure, when someone talks real estate at work, they're just going to think of me. It's like, no. We talked to the team last week and I was like, I had them name like, give me companies' names or places that you love to go that, you know, provide a good level of service or a favorite restaurant or whatever. And it's like, has any of those companies ever once, and we named a couple big ones like Apple and I'm like, Costco, they'll have like referral programs, but I'm like, if somebody from these companies or businesses that you love sat you down and was just like, hey, I would love for you to help us, for you to help me build this company. Here's what I'm willing to give you in return. Like, here's this referral program. Like, it's phenomenal. I would be more open to thinking who I needed to send there, especially if I loved it. I have a gal that's been cutting my hair for like 4 years. And I'm like, she's never once told me like, hey, my books are like a little light. I'm gonna have to move shops if, you know, I don't get a little bit busier. If she told me that and said, hey, if you know anyone looking for a haircut, you obviously know the level of service I provide. Like I would love to help them out. I would absolutely like anyone that has any hair whatsoever. I would be like, hey, if you ever want a haircut, here's the gal's name. Like you should use her. But she's never asked me to do that. And so we don't live in a society where it's just normal to give referrals to other people unless you just love the company or what they've done for you. And so how do you position yourself as somebody who provides an awesome level of service, but also you have to teach your people how to give referrals. You have to let them know, hey, when anyone mentions real estate, I would love for you to think of me. The way that you do that is by putting us in a group message. Then I have 100% chance to connect with them. I would love to help them out. If not, we also talked as a team. Like anytime someone says, hey, I gave your phone number to somebody, never hear from them. Never hear from them. But when someone says, hey, so-and-so, meet Cody. He's awesome. He helped us buy our house. Or, hey, this is my really close friend. He'd love to help you out and get you guys into that new house. Like 100% chance, I will probably have a 90% close rate on that introduction. Like I will help them. It may not be this month, but at some point I'm getting them in my system. I'm tagging them. I'm following up with them and I'm getting the business because I got their information. So you also have to teach people what it looks like. So when you're early on and you start reaching out to people, teach them what giving a referral looks like. It's not just sending your phone number out to somebody. I also would tell you that don't just ask a yes or no question. So, hey, do you know someone that's looking to buy or sell right now? People are going to say no. Subconsciously, the loop in their mind is shut off. They told you no. The question's out of sight, out of mind. Instead, ask an open-ended question. Who do you know that's looking to buy or sell? I don't really know anyone. Hey, no problem. will you just think of me? If you have a conversation about real estate, will you think of me and put us in a group message? Okay. That way, next time it comes up subconsciously in their mind, they're like, oh yeah, I gotta send that. I should bring up so-and-so's name. Instead of a yes or no. Okay. Any questions with this? Database, tagging, status.
Okay. So you're kind of talking about someone that you reach out. They never answer. You like literally like cutting them out of your database, beating them, or they just sort of sit in this bucket where when you send mass, whatever, it's just going to hit them. And
Yep.
maybe that eventually they could convert, but it's not necessarily a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Eventually, when you get to a point where you've got some of your 36 touch program dialed in, you're going to get to a point where all these people are going to get your marketing. So I may not be calling them every quarter, but there should all be getting some marketing pieces from me. So I'm never going to get rid of anybody. If you guys ever, Ryan Serhan out of New York, he's got a big company, sells luxury properties. One of the thing that has like made him who he is his lead follow-up is just phenomenal. Like you go look up some of his videos. He's got a couple stories where it's just like, look, I called and reached out to a person every other week for like years. And we were supposed to do this transaction, didn't work out. I kept them in this bucket. They decided, I think they got divorced or whatever, is what took place with this one situation. He follows up for like 8 years or something. Eventually, husband reaches back out. He sells him like a $10 million condo in New York. Wife reaches out. He ends up selling her this luxury property, and he ends up doing like 50 million in volume off of this one lead that he could have just like, nah, I haven't answered. Those guys are a-holes. I'm just never going to reach out to them. It's like you just never know. And the thing that most agents suck at in our business is follow-up. Because you're so focused on the now business and what's in front of you. So you're so focused on this, which you have to be, especially early on. Like, how do I get this lead to go under contract? How do I get my next paycheck? Like, you have to be, you know? The problem is what most agents don't realize is perpetually, like your business is going to start to snowball if you can stay up on lead follow-up. If you can create a system and an ecosystem that allows you to put people into it, have consistent marketing going out, reach out to them. That's where taking good notes and putting it in there. Like I would never shy away from reaching out to an unqualified lead that's never answered. If I have a few notes of, I met at this open house on 123 Main Street in Spanish Fork. They've got 2 kids. They talked about wanting to move to a larger place and whatever. Like here's a couple of their hobbies, whatever notes I had. Like if I've got a couple of those things in there and just say, hey, like last time we talked, you had the 2 kids. How's life? Like, how are you guys doing? You know, what's new? Hey, I wanted to follow up. Just are you guys interested in buying? Have you guys purchased anything? Like it's a lot easier to follow up and build a rapport when you have done a good job about collecting information and writing it down. So if you can do a great job there, especially as you go to consultations and you talk to people, like try to remember things. Even after I meet people, sometimes I'll just pull my notes out on my phone. Be like, all right, Joe Smith met here. Need to get my database. Here's his info. Here's a couple notes and things because I'm going to go throughout my weekend and then I'm going to forget about stuff. You know, so when you end an open house, it's like, all right, that was so-and-so. Let me take a few notes down. I'm going to make sure I go back and put it into command. So just data collecting is super important. Your money and the value of your business falls within your database. So having name, phone number, email, and address, if you can have those 4 pieces of data on everybody and you run a 36 touch program and you do that for a decade or 2 and you have an awesome career and then you want to sell into the sunset eventually with your real estate career, your database is the thing that's valuable. That is what's worth money. Okay? Because as soon as people stop, the business goes away. That's the thing. If you've got a great database you stay in touch with, like that's the thing at the end of a career that's worth money. And that's really where your money will be made, is in your database. Okay, now I'm going to talk for a few minutes about best practices with buyer and a seller, okay, for follow-up. New in the business, buy side, you guys are going to be heavy on the buy side. Okay, it's really usually harder to get on the sell side early in a career. It just doesn't mean you can't. Doesn't mean I wouldn't spend time lead generating for that. There's strategies. You know, if you're doing an open house and you're just going to go get a couple signs, put it out on the road, and hope and wish and pray that somebody comes through on a Saturday, good luck. Sometimes it's going to work. Sometimes it's not. I would be proactive. I'd create some flyers. I'd go door knock 50 or 100 doors. I'd go get to know the neighbors. I'd invite people. How do you start building relationships? Okay. There's some opportunity to sell someone's house home sells, I go back, canvass the neighborhood, or reach out to the people that I had contact info and say, hey, their home went quickly. There's leftover buyers. Do you guys ever consider selling? Is that on your radar? Because we know if the home moved fairly quickly, like we know there's going to be people that are interested in that area. So I may not have a bunch of buyers, but there for sure is buyers left over. So are you interested in selling? Like, is that something we need to have a conversation about? Okay. So now I'm lead generating specifically for sellers off of an open house where normally most agents are just looking for buyers. Get an unrepresented buyer to come through the open house. I can help them buy this house or something else. Okay. So there's some strategies with lead generation that can help you in both buckets. So I'm going to spend on the buy side, when I meet with a buyer, I'm going to walk you through my process and how I set people up. Okay. So I am going to have a consultation with someone. Okay. And then I'm going to set them up. And you can do it. I'm trying to think how I don't want to do it too red sign. I'm going to tell you how I would do it if I was just in the MLS. Okay. So, because you also can set them up on listing alerts in Command, I believe. And then I think you can see when they're looking at stuff. If you can do that, then I would use that to start. But I would get their MLS search set up. And the first search is going to be exactly what they told me. Okay. So if they wanted a 3-bed, 2-bath townhome, and they want to be in Provo and has to have a 1-car garage minimum. Okay, I'm going to set them up on this as exact search. Okay. Here's the thing that I have found valuable. The second one, and I'm going to put this on a daily. I'm going to put it daily. Okay. I'm going to set myself up on a search. So this is going to be client. This one's going to be for me. I'm going to take this same criteria, but I'm going to broaden my horizon a little bit. Okay. Meaning I may start with 3 bedrooms and go up to 5. I may start with like a 1.5 bath, or maybe I just do one bathroom plus. I'm going to start with no car. And I'm not going to be just in Provo. I'm going to be from, they told me they have to be so close to work. So I'm going to be from Springville to, I'd probably go as north as, I'd even go as north as AF because there's some pretty sweet deals on stuff in American Fork. And I would set this search up daily. And in the MLS, you can set the time that it sends you the email. Okay. I have my listing alerts hit my inbox at 8 a.m. every morning. Okay. First thing I do from 8 a.m. to 8:30 is I pull up the MLS. I'll get an email. I'll name it my client. Okay. So we'll say Cody, townhome. And this one I'm just sending to myself. This one obviously is sent to the client. Okay. So you guys will learn how to do that when you get into MLS, create a listing alert. That's a whole nother class to focus on that we could go through that process. But I set myself up on my own search and I don't include my client on this one. The reason for that, this search is going to send them everything they asked for. Okay. This search is going to send me everything they asked for plus additional things. Because let's say something pops up in Orem that's 3-bed, 2-bath, has a 1-car garage. It's just outside of Provo. It hits my inbox and I send them, I quickly copy the link. I text them and I say, hey, just saw this townhome at the market. I know it's just outside of where you wanted to be in Provo, but it checks every other box. Take a look at it. Let me know if you want to set up a time to see it. So I'm driving my follow-up with buyers through listings. Okay. Instead of calling them, most agents are going to set buyers up on a listing and say, when you see something that you like, you call me and we'll go see it. There's no proactivity at all whatsoever. You're just hoping, praying, wishing that they're going to figure it out. Okay. I like this approach because I'm not spending time every day for 2 hours setting up an MLS search, going and just looking at homes and photos. I'm not doing that. I'm setting up a search. It hits my inbox. I'm going to look at the 5 to 10 listings that showed up today. If any of them seem like good options for those clients, I'm going to send them a text and say, hey guys, saw this house, was thinking of you. Let me know if you want to go see it. And when it comes outside of the things I'm sending them, it portrays it as like I'm spending all this time every day lead generating for them. Like I'm trying to find this house. I'm like spending all this time to go find them the home that they want. In all reality, I've just created a great system or a process to do that. And all I'm spending is a couple minutes a client every day, making sure that I don't miss anything. Okay. Because most of the time, I'll tell you, if you have most of the box checked, but it's just outside of their area, or they needed 4 bedrooms and it's a 3-bedroom house, but it's everything they ever wanted. It's like sometimes clients will just say, you want to know what? We can probably just deal with it because the house is phenomenal. Let's go look at it. Okay. There's always deal breakers in there, and you'll learn that as you take somebody out. Usually when I take somebody out to look at a house, we'll walk through it. And at the end, we're having a conversation of, all right, what do you guys think? What did you like about the home? What didn't you like? And the things that you don't like, are those deal killers? Okay. Would those keep you from buying this home or another home that has those things? And so, for example, the wife says, hey, the pantry is just too small. Like I've got to have more pantry space. When I see a home and it's the same size, or they send me a listing and the pantry is the same size or smaller than the one that we saw last week that she said was a deal breaker, I will message back and say, hey, I would love to go see this, just so you know, like it looks like the pantry is really small. You mentioned that was a deal breaker. Most of the time the client's like, oh my gosh, I just didn't even see that. For sure, let's just take it off the list. Let's not waste our time. Okay. It also helps me as I start looking at homes, as I quickly look through those couple every day, to identify the ones that really do fit their box. Okay.
When you're setting up, if there's certain you kind of probe and say, what here is kind of negotiable if I was to buy, do you sort of like set that up and make it work like a surprise, like, oh, hey.
No, what I'm doing is when you in the consultation, I'm asking a question that's, what are your wants and what are your needs? Give me your list of like non-negotiables, which are usually like the home has to have these things or we're not buying it. I need to know that. Now, what's your list of wants? You gave me your needs list. I need to have these things. Now, what do you want? In a perfect world, if I could find a house with a 3-car garage and this size lot and next to the school that's walkable for my kids, like I don't have to have those, but those would just be like cherry on top. Great. So let's identify the needs and the wants, because that really helps me start to narrow things in. And as we go see houses, that list sometimes will change. Depending on their price point, what they can afford, those are things that can change where they're like, well, I know I said I needed to have this, but clearly we're not going to get that in our budget. We're going to have to be willing to give something up. And sometimes you have to have that conversation. You have to say, hey, look, what you need, your non-negotiables, they don't fit in the bucket of what you afford. And so we've got to have an honest conversation. What would you be willing to give up? We got to give up location. We got to give up size. We got to give up something. You said you wanted single family, but it's got to be under 400. And that's really tough. We're going to need to go to a townhome, or you need to get a better job, or you need to make more money somehow. Like let's have a conversation how we figure this out. Okay. So with buyers too, this is the thing where if I have somebody in my nurture, we had a conversation this morning where I have an agent who had a listing last year. It was a little overpriced. They were like, all right, we pulled it off the market for various reasons. They're like, we may think about it this year. She went on an appointment. They're still like what they want out of their home, and the market's not going to deliver that. So they're like, okay, well, I don't think we're going to move. But Amy has done a good job of keeping them on a listing alert for homes. So a home popped up yesterday that just hit the market and is like everything that they want in a house. So they sent Amy a text last night and said, hey, I know we said we're not going to sell and we're just going to stay put, but you just sent us a house. It's like the perfect home and it's a little bit less. And I think we could take a little bit less on our house and make it work. Can we go see it tomorrow morning? So she's right now showing the house, and it's all because she had listing alerts on there. So anytime somebody's even remotely interested in potentially buying, get them on a listing alert. Figure out, hey, I know you said next year you guys would plan on moving. Can I just ask you a couple of questions? Like tell me a little bit about, in a perfect world, where would you move? What would the house have? Like, let's start asking some of these questions. And then just say, hey, are you okay? If they're like next year, I may not send it to them daily, but say, hey, if I send you a couple houses every week for you guys to take a look at and just keep an eye on the market so you know what's available and how, what the cost of those homes are going for, that would be really insightful and helpful for you guys as you prepare to move next year. Okay. And sometimes you'll have, if you're doing a good job there, this is what adds to your like touch program. You do a good job there, how the perfect home pops up in 6 months. Sometimes it will amaze you what people are willing to do when the perfect house in the perfect neighborhood comes available. Sometimes you're like, I know we said next year, but like this is like the house. How do we make it happen? Can you make it happen for us? And if I wouldn't have had them on listing alerts, maybe they were on Zillow, maybe they would have saw it. Most of the time, not. They would have just missed out on the house, and I would have missed out on the potential deal that could have happened sooner because I didn't have a system in place for it. Okay, so anytime somebody's interested in buying, have the conversation, even if it is a year from now, and tell them, hey, I'd love to just send you a few homes, keep an eye on the market, so you guys can know what things are selling for, how fast they're moving, condition of homes, and that will help you guys prepare for next year.
App sign the buyer.
Potentially.
There.
This is, most of the time, this is going to be after you meet with them for the buyer consultation. They say, hey, I'm interested. What I would tell you, one of my gold nuggets too, agents are notorious for just wanting to be helpful, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying don't be helpful, but I'm saying there's a time and a place, okay? So when someone's like, hey, I'm interested in buying, do you want to help me out? Sometimes agents are like, on the phone, we're like having that conversation. They're like, yeah, tell me what you're looking for. Where do you guys want to live? Like, what do you want in the house? So you're doing all this recon, getting them all set up, but you didn't actually have you didn't have a consultation. You didn't have an appointment. You didn't sit down and say, hey, here's the process, how you buy a home. We're going to talk about these few things. Let's talk about your wants and your needs and where you want to live and all that stuff. And here at the end, let's talk about this agreement. Legally, to show you homes, to work together, here's a buyer broker agreement. Let me walk you through it. We've got to get this signed. Is there any questions, any concerns with signing this and moving forward? Okay. That's normally. But if I call somebody in my SOI and they're like, hey man, not this year, but next year we're thinking about selling, I probably am not going to set a legit consultation up like today if it's like, hey, next spring in 12 months we're thinking about moving. But I probably would say, hey, let's just talk about it for a few minutes. Like, tell me about what do you want and what don't you love about your current home? Why do you guys want to move? What's the motivation? And let's have a conversation. And then I'll say, hey, well, let me just set you up on a listing alert based on our conversation today. I'll send you some homes once a week. Start looking at those so you can start seeing what comes available. And then once it gets a little closer, let's chat. Okay. When I'm within like 6 months, then I'm pushing for the consultation. Hey, like we need to start prepping. Is credit score good? Are we selling a house? Like, what do we need to do to make sure you're ready? Because I don't want spring to come and then we're scrambling because we need to pay off a couple credit cards or fix credit or whatever the case is. I want to know about those things now. If we've got to prep a home and we've got to get that sold, like there's things that need to happen before. I like educating and consulting with people to make sure you're making the best financial decision for you and your family. Okay. Any other questions with this? Only other gold nugget, I sell 1 or 2 homes off KSL every year for sell by owner with buyers. Okay. It's not a place agents look. That's where we sell stuff off market in Utah. It's KSL. It's not Craigslist. Sometimes Facebook Marketplace, sometimes you can find some homes on there, but KSL, I look at that twice a week. Okay. And you can filter by, for sell by owner. Okay. So you can filter by owners that have posted their house on there. A lot of times they're overpriced. Okay. But it's great to reach out. It's funny when you call them because they think you're another agent. Where I'm like, hey, this is Cody with Keller Williams and the Red Sign team. They're like, it's immediate wall goes up. And I'm like, hey, I'm actually not calling to sell your house. I know you probably have gotten 500 of these phone calls. And they're like, yeah, I get these like 10 of these every day. I actually have a buyer who's interested. So tell me a little about your home. Why are you selling? Are you paying commission? Photos look good. Like, let me talk to my clients. And if they're interested, I'll get a time set up and I'll reach out to you. Okay. So that's another great place to just find some off market homes that don't hit the MLS. Okay. But that's, for me, this is like my process for buyers. Got to get listings to them. I don't want to spend a bunch of time in my own business. So I'm just going to be really streamlined in my approach, set myself up a search. I'm going to look at it for a few minutes and that's it. Okay. Sellers are a little bit different. Okay. In some regards, One of the things I will do if a seller is farther down the road, I mean, sellers usually you're going meeting with them, are we signing an ERS or are we getting it on the market? Okay, what has to happen there? So this is really about lead follow-up today. So following up with a seller who may be 6 months, I go meet with them. We go over the numbers. They're like, man, things are tight. Maybe we just stay put for a little longer. So in this, I'm going to set up a listing alert. And you can send this to them. I don't normally love sending the listing alert to them. The listing alert is going to be based on their neighborhood. Okay. So it's based on area that they're in. The reason why I'm going to set this up is what better way to touch base with a seller when their neighbor a street over put their home on the market. Okay. Especially if it's pretty similar. That's a great, like, copy the link, text it to them and say, hey, I don't know if you saw around the corner from you, your neighbor just listed their home. Take a look at the link. You know, we touch base on numbers. This could help us get a little bit more money, or this could hurt us because how it's priced. We can have a very open conversation as we continue preparing to get their home on the market. Okay. Sometimes with sellers, there's usually like, what do I follow up with? Like they said they're ready in 6 months. Like, what do I check in with? Okay. The other one is if there was any projects that we were working on when I met with them. Are we done with the projects? Have we painted? Did we get the yard cleaned up? Like, is there anything else we need to do to make sure we're ready? Do you need any vendors that I can get from my office? Like, how do we support you to make this as easy as possible? Okay, these are great lead follow-up things to stay in touch with your sellers on. Okay, those are probably the two big ones that I would focus on with sellers that are farther down the road. Usually sellers, if they're going to list, we're like, all right, do this, box this stuff up. I'll send you this agreement. We'll get that signed. We'll get it on the market and get going. Okay. It's already over 10:30. Any questions with this?
Well,
Ask.
A bit more into that, stuff before. So you have this background in construction. Do you advise people on these projects, or this is like?
I do.
Or like,
I do because I lived in it for a decade.
Right.
You know, I've bid, done, managed thousands and thousands of projects from little $2,500 thing to $1 million plus projects, you know. So I do. That's
still give me.
yeah.
Still
What I would start getting acquainted with as an early agent is as you look at, because one of the things is your 10-4s every day, you know, reaching out to 10 people, looking at 10 houses, like start looking and paying closer attention to listings and listings that have done a really good job preparing. So I'll give you the best bang for your buck is always carpet and paint. So if the carpet and the flooring is trashed and the paint, I've got a hot pink room, a lime green room, a red room, paint the house, paint the room. If you want to sell your home and get the most amount of money for it, you're painting the walls. I don't care if you're doing it. I don't care if we're getting a contractor to do it. Like, it needs to be painted. You don't have to. We can sell it as is. You're just taking less money. So if money was the most important thing as a seller, we need to change the carpet out and we need to paint. Okay, those are the two most common things. Outside of that, it's like decluttering, taking things off the walls, boxing things up. I tell people if their house stinks. Okay. I know that's a little bit of like, well, how do you have that conversation? When you get there, it's like, hey, today, how honest can I be with you on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being perfectly honest, 1 not being honest at all. Everyone's like, well, duh, 10. Like, I want you to be totally honest. That's why you're here at my house today. Perfect. Can I be really honest with you? As I'm walking through your home, like, I don't see a dog or a cat, but like, clearly we've had animals in the house. I can smell that. Okay. So buyers are going to smell that. We need to talk about how we're going to remediate that. We need to do something. We're either changing the carpet, we're painting, we've got an ozone machine we need to get, like, we need to do something because buyers are going to sense that. Okay. So you've got to be honest with people. Model homes. I would tell you, go through model homes that are staged. When you walk through a model home, do they have random pictures of Jesus and family photo? No, none of that's on there. Like, you've got to be honest with people and just say, look, when you walk through a model home, my goal as your agent is to make your home look like that. So we've got to take things off the wall. We've got to box things up. We've got to just make this thing look as neat and seamless as possible. Now, if you're living here, the goal is to get all that stuff done before photos. Kitchen counters cleaned off. We don't have all of the just clutter and all the things. Just get it totally cleaned off so it looks phenomenal. We'll take photos. And then your favorite toaster and your appliance can come back on the table. I'm not saying you got to box that up and not use it for the next 2 months while we list and sell your house. But for photos where people are going to see it, we need to present this in the best light as possible. Okay? Anything else here before I jump in? And I'm just going to cover these really fast. Does that work? Okay. PC. What happens after you do your 4 deals? Great question. There is no right or wrong answer with this. I tell agents, there's no solo team. Neither of them is better than the other. Okay. There's different value, pros and cons that come with being on a team and being solo. Obviously, I'm an advocate with being on a team. I'm on a team. I run one of the bigger teams here in the state. But it really comes down to what you find value and is important to you. Once you have a handful of deals done, you really do understand, like, what don't you like about real estate? What do you love about it? Okay. And if there is enough value in somebody offloading the things that you don't want to do, so if it's marketing or if it's whatever it is, then it's like start looking and interviewing teams. As soon as you're out of those 4 deals, you can go immediately sign on with a team. Okay. There's no waiting period outside of that. They really just want to get your 4 deals done, and then the gauntlet is yours. You can do whatever you want. Okay. You can go be solo. You can stay in the PC program. You can transition to a team. You've just really got to identify what have you found valuable if somebody was going to take this off my plate, and what do I want to spend more of my time on? Okay. There's phenomenal agents in this office that do $500 to $1 million in GC every year that crush it, and they're solo, do it all on their own, and they've got a great business. Like, kudos to them. They figured it out. Phenomenal. They love life. Okay. There's agents that do really well on teams. I've got agents that make good money being on a team. You just have to figure out what that looks like and the value. Every team is different. Their value proposition, the culture, whether they provide leads, their marketing, events, coaching, training, like all that stuff is a little bit different. So you also want to get into the weeds on, like, what do you provide? What is your value proposition? How are you helping agents go from 5 or 10 deals to 15 to 25 deals? Okay. Most teams are going to be a 50-50 split. Okay. So the PC split is very similar to most teams. It's a very common thing in the industry. Some teams that are not providing leads or doing just minimal, just coaching, training, or it's a smaller organization, sometimes those you can get to 70-30 or higher splits. You're just not getting maybe some of the events or marketing or leads or whatever the case may be. Okay. But most teams are going to be 50-50. To answer that one? Okay. Raw land. I would tell you this is a tough one, and I'll be honest with you. So being in Utah, we're running out of land.
Yeah.
So that is the tough thing. Like the land is on the outskirts of San Pete County, Eagle Mountain City Center, Tooele, Erta, not much land in Salt Lake County left. It's not that it's not possible. It's just a very niche. Okay.
I mean, Willamette Valley is got 800 vineyards, farms. Like, I can't believe they've got like they call it farmers market.
Yeah.
Place.
Cool.
Lots of timber sales, lots of so there's just like there's a lot more land
Opportunity.
there.
Got
I
it.
know there's quite here, so it's like at some point in time.
Yeah, niche stuff. What I would start doing is I would use AI. I would start just doing a lot of digging in, like, all right, if I wanted to be in this niche in real estate, what are some lead generation activities I could do? I honestly couldn't tell you I don't know how you would connect, because really your goal would be to connect with the landowners that are up there. Like,
Right.
What can you do remotely to connect with landowners that are up in that area? And then who is your best, like, referral partner up there that you could refer people to potentially and say, hey, I've got a great network, a great, team set up. We focus on this, but you're going to have to, like, really dig into that and figure out how do you lead generate or prospect around it.
Right.
And that's with any niche. Like, I want to be a custom builder agent. I want to be a raw land. I want to be a commercial agent. I would use technology is phenomenal right now. Like AI, as far as being a teacher, trainer, like, to just start dumping things in there and say, all right, build me out a business strategy around being a land professional, and I want to be around vineyards, farms, all these things up in this area of Oregon. Build me a business plan around that. Where do I need to be spending time in my business right now to work towards that? And I would use technology to really help build out a business plan and focus on whatever that is. I just don't know enough about it to
Right. Yeah.
know, but that's how I would handle it. I'd use technology, I'd use AI, I'd use Claude, Chat, Gemini. I'd go to one of those and start building out me a business plan. And then I would put it in my calendar and say, I'm not going to spend 30 hours a week prospecting for this. But every week I want to pick up the phone and I want to figure out a way for me to get a hold of a couple people and have some conversations. And I want to keep in touch with them.
Yeah. It's called X.
Yep.
And this, like, I'm always out there.
Yep.
So I'm always seeing everyone's data.
Yep.
It's like, I mean, I know it doesn't always list personal, but at least.
You can track it down. Yeah, you can track it. Yeah, you can back into it. Yeah, so I would use AI, build out a business plan, start thinking through that. Last thing I'll share, knowing everything and prospecting. Most agents are going to fall into this bucket right here. You're not going to prospect because you feel like you need to know everything in the whole entire business before you can pick up the phone and start calling people. Please don't do that. If you want to survive in the industry, if you want to make it and stay in the industry, because the turnover is about 90%, people don't renew at 2-year mark. The sweet spot is somewhere in the middle here. Okay. I'm not saying you shouldn't be learning things because sometimes it's really scary to go on a listing appointment when you've never been on one. Okay. But it doesn't mean that you need to spend your whole 40, 50, 60 hours a week or whatever time you have to give to your business on learning how to be the absolute best listing agent. Because honestly, the data tells us if you're just the first person to the lead, you have about an 80% chance of getting the deal. So I've got to have a focus of prospecting. I've got to have a focus of being on the phones and having a conversation. I would tell you my goal would be to have a standard in my business that I have to have so many conversations every week. Okay. In the PC program, your 10-4 is like the goal is to have 10 conversations a day. So 50 a week should be a minimum where you're like, all right, I need to talk to 50 people every week. It needs to come from prospecting, my database, my open houses, farming, door knocking, cold calling, networking, whatever it is. Like I need to have 50 conversations a week and you need to track it. So what agents don't do a lot of times when I talk to an agent, they're like, man, I'm struggling. I'm like, first question I want to ask them is how many conversations have you had this week, this month? Where are you? Because if you're not talking to people, there's no way you're going to get a deal. There's no way you're going to find the person. Okay. But also don't be totally over here. I've had a couple agents, most don't fall over here, but I'll give you an example. I had an agent that was just like door knocker. The kid would go out like 5 hours a day and knock doors. He was funneling people into his database left and right. The kid was just like grabbing people's info, building his database. He got up to like 600 people in like 6 months, just door knocking. Stellar. No system in place, no follow-up, he was lost didn't do anything for just knowing how to get to the next step. He was just stellar at that first, like putting the effort in, didn't turn into any transactions.
I don't mean breaking the ice with people, but then I don't want to like be remembered as some jackass who just showed up and then never did anything ever again.
Yep.
Love to, yeah.
Yep. That's where you want to find out like where are they at in the sales funnel? Are they buying? Are they hot? Are they nurture? Is it next year? Like where are they? And then if you get somebody on the hook, that's where like Cameron, the PC, like that's why you're in the PC programs because Cameron will help you. Like he'll walk you through that. So go be somewhere in the middle here where you're still every week, you've got some time set aside to come to it, Ignite and they don't call this Ignite anymore. What is this called? Rise. Come to Rise. If there's a CE course that you're really excited about, but some agents are just like, I've got 5 CE courses lined up and I'm going to learn about mold and meth and all these things. And I'm like, dude, we sell 250 homes a year. You know how many homes we run in that have meth? Like maybe one a year. So like, don't go waste all your time being the meth expert when like, we just don't have a lot of meth, like we don't run into it a ton, So I'm like, don't spend all your time learning everything and then not having the conversations because you'll kill yourself. You'll just self-implode because you won't have the business to support yourself to earn a paycheck. Like it won't happen. So find yourself here, set some time aside so you feel like you're always learning something. If you're running into things on the phone constantly where you're like, I just don't know enough about this and I keep running into it, great. Write that down. Let that be the focus this next week. I need to go learn more about this. Okay. And let this drive the things that you're going to go learn instead of trying to learn everything and then be like, well, as soon as I know everything and my business card's perfect and everything's lined up, then I'm going to get on the phones. You won't make it. You won't make it. You gotta start talking to people. Okay. Anything else you guys have? Any last questions you've got for me? Hopefully this was helpful, insightful.
Yeah, very. Man, I don't know how to quite answer this, but just honestly and check. The thing I kind of keep seeing in here, it's like you want to work with sellers, you don't really want to work with buyers that much. Does that you find that to be?
Depends on the market. Last year I would have told you I would have taken buyers over sellers all day long. Last year was brutal, especially the last half. Brutal. 14,000 homes on the market. It was hard. Sellers, you're constantly, once they're on the market, this maybe the last thing I would tell you with this follow-up is if they're on the market, if they're listed, Thing that sellers hate more than anything with listing agents, no communication. So you need to weekly communicate. Okay? If they're on the market, you better be reaching out once a week. I don't care if no one's had a showing. You need to tell them that. You better have a listing alert set up. You better know who's listing in their neighborhood. And you better be the first one that says, hey, down the street, the home just listed. It's 20 grand below where we're at, and it's the same house, and it's in better condition. We need to have a conversation about a price reduction. Like, that better come from you instead of them saying, hey, I just heard from so-and-so that so-and-so listed, and they went on the market a week ago, and they're already under contract. What's your problem? Why haven't you sold my house? It's like, well, because it was $20,000 cheaper, and their house is nicer. It's totally remodeled. Like, we're overpriced. Okay? So communication. So I would tell you, no, I mean, sellers for sure. Like, when you look at, again, the millionaire real estate, like leverage leads, listings are leverage. Okay. Usually listings, if you have them and you're doing open houses, should help you procure more buyers. So it's like a circle of life effect here. Like, we're getting more business out of it, but I wouldn't shy away from buyers either.
Yeah.
So investors or really particular buyers, sure, like those can be harder, but like, dude, if it's just some first time home buyer, somebody move up, or hey, we're moving here and want to buy a house, like, great, tell me what you're after.
Right.
If I'm really good at my system and leveraging all, it's not going to take me that much time. I'm spending literally like 5-10 minutes a day on them.
Right.
Like, I'm spending no time. And then I got to go show some houses. That's all right. It's not a terrible thing. You'll be more buyer heavy early on. You just naturally will. Your seller heavy will come through your prospecting efforts and your maturity in the industry.
Okay.
Because once your buyers start to live in a home for a little while, they'll be calling you back. If you've ran this touch program, they'll be calling you and say, hey, we're ready to sell because such and such happened. We need a bigger house, downsize, whatever the case is. So don't shy away from it. Especially early on, I take anybody. Buyer, seller, I don't care what you got. I'm your man. I'm your gal. I'll help you. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one. How long have you lived in your rental? Okay. How long have you been renting? How long have they been renting?
Probably since
You said 6?
Six.
Okay. Can I ask you an honest question? Have you ever sat down and added up how much money you have paid to a landlord? Okay. Can I ask you to do a very fun and really just eye-opening activity? Sit down and add up how much money you've spent in rent. And then I want to help you learn a valuable lesson in life and building wealth in America. Once you figure out that number, because it's going to be astronomical. Most people are paying right now, I mean, most people are paying over $2,000 for rent. Okay. Even if it was 6 years ago, you're still probably paying $1,500. So let's just average. You could average and say you've been paying $1,800 a month for 6 years. So we could do the math. You essentially have been paying over $20,000 a year for 6 years. So you have spent over $100,000 that you have paid to a landlord. And if you owned a home, there's a portion that goes towards interest, but there's a portion that goes towards principal. So if you took those last 6 years in amortization schedule, like, you would have at least been paying a part of that to yourself. And along the way, your home value would have been increasing. Okay. So there's value in having a home. Not only does it lock your monthly housing expense, because one of the things I'd say, you're paying more today than you were 6 years ago, right? In rent, absolutely everyone is. Well, if I buy a home today and I'm in my loan in 10 years from now, I'm paying the same in 10 years as I am today. So although it's going to feel like a stretch to get into a house right now in this market and with affordability the way it is and interest rates, I'm telling you, if you want to have wealth in America and if you want something to pass on to your kids and have an asset that's worth something, or you want to start building wealth and maybe you turn that into a rental and you become a landlord down the road, you have to get into the real estate game. You have to own your own house. If nothing else, at least buy a house and live there and work towards getting it paid off so you have an asset that's worth a bunch of money. Realizing too, the future of Utah, there's statistics and reports right now that they think and predict by the time we have Olympics come around in 2034, that the average single family home could be $1 million. There's a lot of people that if you don't buy today, you're going to get priced out of the market and you'll never buy. You'll always be a renter. So let's run the math on you being a renter for the next 30 years. You want to see something really sickening? Run the math on that, because your average is going to end up being $2,500 or $3,000. Rent is constantly going up.
The real estate are better than anything else, even just if you were to say, well, I've just invested in, Dogecoin or whatever. It's like,
Yeah. Well, there's like, yeah, there's different things. I would say, yeah, diversify. It's not a bad thing to have some money in crypto and the stock market, but to have a physical asset that you can touch, feel, see, go to, like there's value in that. And so with the renter people, it's like, well, I just love being where I'm at. I'm like, phenomenal. But if you ever want to own something and have something in America and you want the American dream and you want to have wealth, if you look at statistics of a renter's wealth, when you compare it to a homeowner's, drastically different. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. The wealth for a renter is like less than $50,000, where a wealth for a homeowner is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the difference. The scale is so far tipped. So if we're just talking about wealth in America and how you build and grow it through generations, you need to have some of it in real estate. You've got to start somewhere.
We don't know we're above our rent price right now.
Okay. It's very valid. It's one of the most expensive places in America right now to live is here in Utah. Top 5.
Mhm.
So if you want this, there's going to be sacrifices. And I tell clients, like eating out, spending money on going out for entertainment. There's going to be things that you're going to have to live within a budget. We've lived in a society where having a budget, most people don't have a budget. Paycheck comes in, we spend the money, paycheck comes again in 2 weeks. Like we're very frugal in how we live our life. Like to have and own real estate, if numbers are tight in a household right now, let's sit down and talk about it. There may be a path where we financially can't make it work, but you won't know that until we sit down and have a consultation. Like let's get into the numbers. Let's get with a lender. Let's look at what it would need to look like and the things that you need in a house for your family to be okay. And let's see if we can start. The other thing too to realize is like people think that they've got to buy their forever home out the gates. No, you just need to get in. You just need to get in. Start with a condo, start with a townhome. Like, is it as cool as a single family rental? Maybe not. But if you can buy a townhome, get it paid down, and then in a few years from now, you sell that, take the equity from that home, and then go put it down on that bigger single family home, like then you're now in that game. And you've got to start somewhere. So teaching kids early on too, when they're in their early 20s, like you just got to get in. You got to get that first property. You got to just it's going to be uncomfortable. Get your buddies to pay you rent to live in the room. Go house hack. Like you just got to figure it out here in Utah. Because if not, there's going to be a lot of people that just get priced out. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Yeah, for sure. All right. Anything else? Okay. Well, thanks for being here today. I appreciate making the time. So, lastly, I tell you, I'll give you here's my phone number. If I can ever be a resource or help to you, I'm an open book. Gotta write it so you can see it.